Hello team, this is Maysam. This is one big video about how the process of pregnancy test goes from the beginning to the end. So I made some videos about like every single role before, but now I decided to make one video and put everything in it. You can watch it, you can see the whole process, and whenever it's your role, you can go ahead and practice or watch that part of the video again to kind of like be mastering it. So as you probably remember, the software has a couple of roles in it that each staff member or volunteer has those roles assigned to. So let me log in to show you actually. So now this is my account. I assigned almost all the roles to myself so I can show you. The menu on the left contains all the roles, and if you are assigned, for example, to be a client coordinator, you will see the CC menu up here. So if you don't see that up there, that means you don't have this role assigned to you. Same as qualified advocate, same as advocate, or so on. So at this point, we created a test user. We're just going to go ahead and pick that user as the first test and then go ahead with the process. So the first thing user does is filling out all the forms, and let's assume they're all filled and everything is ready and she's there for the check-in. So when she's at the lobby, the first group of people who are going to take the client are the client coordinator people. In this menu, you have the check-in option, check out, along with the appointment explorer and register on behalf. So you can actually take a look at the appointments for the day or for the week. So this will show you the whole calendar. So look, we have this test user here, and it's assigned from 11 to 11:30. So that's why it just occupies 2 blocks of 15 minutes, because the pregnancy test takes 30 minutes. Right? And the number 1 means there's 1 person in these blocks. So if you see number 5 here, that means there are 5 different users here. And you will see the list of users, and it will show you, for example, the test user is pregnancy test. But if it was an ultrasound in the same block, you would see like test user pregnancy test, and then the second line would be like John Smith for ultrasound, for example, right? So this number defines how many people are assigned on this time frame of 15 minutes, 11 to 11:15, and then 11:15 to 11:30. So this means one schedule for 30 minutes for one user, and the username and the type of the schedule, right? So when the whole calendar is full, I probably will take another video and to show you. But anyway, so appointment explorer here, and for the check-in, so you need to go here. So you see the test user here, and let me close this left menu so I have better room. What information it gives me here, the test user is for the pregnancy test section, and it's scheduled on this day on room number 1, assigned to everyone, and these are the II, DI, and MI form, which means she filled them all, except II needs the ID to be attached to the form. So what can I change here? Double clicking on room. If you know, for example, the room is not ready, you can change it to another room. If the room is available, it will show you here. If it's not available, it will not show you here. For example, since I have only 1 user, all 5 rooms are available. But if I had somebody else in room number 1 at the same exact time, the room 1 will be blocked. Same for the assigned to. If I have like specific people logged in here and I have their name, I can say, okay, I want this advocate to pick her, and I can assign that client to that specific advocate. You can check the II, MI, and DI. You can click on them. So as you can see, I can check out all the information that she filled, and I can attach the ID here. Same as demographic intake, all the information are here, and medical information, you can see. You can change them at this point if something is wrong. If she wants to change something, you can say, oh, okay, here it was 14, it was not 13, for example, and then save it. Okay, so when you're ready, by clicking on this up arrow, you can check her in. But remember, if she is missing something in her forms, let's say the DI is red and it's not green, this arrow will not be here. That means you need to ask her to log into her account and fill out the forms, or simply help her by clicking here and filling out the missing fields for the form, and then this arrow will pop up here for you to check in. Alright, let's go ahead. I'm going to check her in. As soon as I check her in, so there's no other person in this check-in area, I can refresh it anytime I want to see if it's anyone new. I mean, this form will refresh itself, but you can always refresh when you want to see the latest update. So now, check-in role is over. Now, the next person in line is the qualified advocate, or we call it Q advocate. It's the person who takes care of the lab and the test, right? So, in this example, I am a qualified advocate as well. If you are assigned to be a qualified advocate, you will see this menu option here. If you're not, you will not see that up there. Okay, so now I see as a qualified advocate that there's a test user. She's doing a pregnancy test in room 3, and I can look at the case review. So case review will show me a quick overview of everything she filled so far. I have the II, DI, and MI here, and then the rest of the case review is empty because there's no data in it. But if I want to check something on her medical information, I can go there and, for example, check it. So then I close this. If I want to take her and assign it to myself, I just simply click on this up arrow again. Okay, as soon as I click on the assign button, I have to work on this user. I cannot do anything else in the qualified advocate or even advocate menu because this user is assigned to me and I have to finish this process. I can see the name of the user, test user here. The lot number is the number of test kits over there. The admin will provide this information. Room 3 is the room that I have to put her, and then according to her information about the LMP, it just shows me the approximate due date and everything here. So let's room temperature, and then the quality control for the test and the result. Let's put this numbers here. Okay, I added the data for the test result, but according to the procedure document, the qualified advocate has to ask the client to start the test and then take her to room number 3 according to this test over here. So when you ask her to go to room number 3, you can ask her to start filling out her form, which I'm going to show you in a couple of seconds. And then the qualified advocate has to come back and basically input all the information that I did a minute ago. So at this point, qualified advocate is done with the user. The user is sitting in room number 3 and she's about to start filling out the forms. And then we have another role, which is the advocate role. So now if you are a volunteer or if you're an advocate, if you have this role, advocate role for yourself, you will see this advocate menu up here and you can get into the advocate assignment list. So here I can see the test user is a pregnancy test, and as the test result is positive, I can see this, and you know the client doesn't see this information. She's waiting in room number 3, so I don't need to ask anybody. I just go straight in room number 3 to meet her. And then the case review here. Look, I can click on the case review and I can see all the information so far has been filled. II, DI, MI, and the test result. So the test result says positive, right? So I have this information in hand and I can go ahead and pick her up. But let me change the view here. Okay, here on the left, I will log in as Maysam. And here on the right, I will log in as the test user. Let's continue the process. On my right side, I have the user, which is sitting in room number 3. And according to the previous section that I talked to you about the qualified advocate, she will be directed to this page to start filling out this information. It shows up here, the advocate name is Maysam. And on my left side, over the advocate menu, I have the same form but as a review. So that means she will start filling out the form here, and it will show it to me on my side, on my left side. So I'm just gonna fill out the form with some random information now. Okay, I'm done filling out the form as a client, and as an advocate, wherever I'm sitting, I'm looking at the data which is being filled by the client. So as soon as she presses save, it will give her the message that, hey, your personal advocate is reviewing your case, right? And then at this point, you can review all the answers here. And when you feel comfortable, when you're ready, you can basically go ahead. Oh, you have the case review option up here. You can always click on the case review and take a look at the II, DI, MI, test result, or whatever is the preview sections. So whenever you're ready, you can just go ahead, room number 3, start interacting with the client. According to the procedure document, you guys are going to sit there and talk about the whole answers over here in this forms. And again, you can always go back to case review, take a look at the case review. And when you are done, all you need to do is just press the save. Pressing the save by the advocate means advocate confirms all this information on the form. At this point, advocate cannot change anything. So as you can see, I cannot change any of these. But if you, in the middle of your conversation, decided that, hey, one of the answers is not correct, let's say it says I prefer to decide for myself, but then she'll be like, no, I would like to share it with somebody else. So you need to ask her to change that specific answer on her form. So in this case, she has to scroll down all the way to that answer and, for example, change it to second option, and then change it to like whatever the answer is, right? And then again, she needs to press the save first, and then you will have the option to lock it basically. So as soon as you press save, see what happens. So here, you both redirected to the social assessment decision scale form, the actual form for her, and same thing, the review for you as an advocate. In this section, she will see the test result, and you can go ahead and explain to her how the process of filling out this form is. Simply leave the room or stay there with her according to whatever you want to do. But at this point, there's this vital signs that it's something new that we're just trying to like add a little bit more information about the physical. And according to all the medical advices and everything that we talked about this process before, the user has to be in a calm situation, sitting on a chair for a couple of minutes and stuff like that. So after filling out the first form, which is the social form, I think at this point you can ask her to start filling out the vital signs. You as an advocate have this option on top here all over the time. So you can click on this vital signs anytime you feel it's the best time. It can be even before starting the form, after the social assessment, after the decision scale, or before vulnerability assessment. But this vital signs has to be filled in before you finish the vulnerability assessment form. So you have a limited window, but it's like 15 minutes. You can pick whenever you want is the best, but according to the procedure, we're planning to do this after the social form is done. So now simply go ahead and ask her to go over the scale and then height and all these information, and if she denies to do that, you can simply click on this. So if it says decline to have vitals measured, then you can leave them blank. If it's not checked, let's say body temperature is like 95, right, and weight is like 150, right, but then the rest of them she says, hey, I don't want to have them measured, and that's it. You can save it, right? Okay, so when the vital signs are just done, either by filling it out or skipping it, the client is going to fill out the social assessment decision scale form. You can stay with her in the room or get out of the room, Either way, you will still see what's being filled with her by looking at the review form. And now I'm just going to fill out all the information. Okay, when I click Save as a client, as you can see again, it says your personal advocate is reviewing your case. Same thing. Personal advocate is going to click Save. That means I approve all this information. And in case if she needs to change something, personal advocate cannot change it. See, I don't have any access to change these stuff. I can ask her to go and change that and press save again. If she decided to change the test to test something else, then she has to press save. And again, you as the advocate will basically lock these answers by clicking save. Let's click and save this process to go to the next step. Okay, as you can see, for the client, there's absolutely nothing to do in this section. She's waiting for the next part of her role. But for the advocate, you have the vulnerability assessment form open in front of you. And again, this is the last form that you can go into vitals and complete the vital signs. And after this, if it's still not completed, it will not allow you to save this file. So if you're still not completed the vital signs, click on this and go ahead and input that information. So at this point, you can take a look at all these red and orange flags. If you want to change them, double click on them and change them. And if you accidentally change something that you don't know which one you changed, just simply restore to default. It will just recalculate everything and just put the check marks back to the default. So according to the procedure again, we don't want to change the flags as much as possible. If one of the flags are wrong and you think this is not an accurate flag, leave it on, but put a note in the notes section at the end that why you think that flag is wrong and what's your explanation for that. So we're trying to not to change the flags because the flags are calculated based on the answers, and we're trying to keep them as it is. So again, if you want to change any of these flags, go ahead and put a note with the explanation in the notes section at the end, so for the person who's reviewing this can understand what's going on. So now here it says there's 3 red flags and 1 orange flag. So this patient is an ABM patient. So here it says 3 red flags and 1 orange flags, and this is an ABM client, right? Let's save this to get to the next step. Okay, as soon as I click save, it brings me to the appointment request list on the advocate side, and it opens the exit survey for the client side. So you are basically with the client in the room at this section. Appointment request list is the form that you need to fill out in order to check out the client. What you need to do is fill out all this information, which I'm going to do it right now. So for the referrals, you can type the beginning of the referral you want. Let's say DR. And again, you can start typing again for the second one, ER. For the church referral again, you can type the name of the church. Say Calvary. So it brings up all the Calvaries. Select one. Here in this section, I got pregnancy ultrasound and retest and educational program. So now, if you think the ultrasound is needed for this lady, you need to click on yes. But just because the ultrasound is in phase 2 of the software and we're still working on it, I disabled the yes button so you cannot select yes. Because of this, you need to add a note for the ultrasound confirmation. For the lady up front, can't put it down on her schedule in the eKairos or the other software. So here at the notes, I will write requires ultrasound. This is basically the yes over here. And if it's an urgent, you just say requires an urgent ultrasound, means as soon as possible. For the retest, if this was a negative test, then the option for retest would pop up. So you could press yes here, but now just because it's a positive test, you really don't need to do the test again. Educational program. If you click yes over the online classes, you can again search the number or the name. Let's say 101. So let's say enter in options, for example, I pick this one or something else, pick this too, it will show here. And then for the counseling, you have 4 options for the pregnancy options: post-abortion, pregnancy loss, and discipleship, right? Again, these are all the phase 2 and they are all disabled. If you need any of them, you need to add them here as a note for the checkout lady to be able to schedule them. So now here, this note will pop up again for the advocate in the next window. This was basically the very basic information that you need to put in for her to be checked out as soon as possible, and then you get to come back to this note area over here and fill out the note in detail with all the explanations. But at this point, I would just recommend you to put in if there's a required ultrasound or required counseling sessions for her. Then click on the save. So now when I click save here, it takes me to the spiritual health, which is the complete detail, and this is the last form from the advocate. So then you get to spend as much as time you want on this form. Meanwhile, the client can get out of the room, go sit in the exit area, and start filling out her exit survey. So on the exit survey on the client, as you can see, is popped up. You can ask her, hey, basically say goodbye and ask her to go sit on the exit area, and then ask her to start filling out the exit survey. So I'm going to show you what will happen if I do not fill out the spiritual health as an advocate. Look, I'm an advocate here. I'm not filling out the spiritual health right now. It's still, these questions has to be answered for this client, but I'm going to go to CC menu and the checkout menu. This is the client coordinator role. So they're going to see this window. Okay, I'm here at the checkout menu, and as you can see, the list is empty, right? It's just because the user didn't fill out the exit survey yet. So she's sitting there and filling out the exit survey. I'm going to do it really fast. Okay, as soon as I fill out the exit survey here, me as a client has again nothing to do at this point, right? So now look at the checkout. So the checkout is depending on if the user has filled out the exit survey and if the advocate has filled out the appointment request list. You saw both of these forms has been filled out. So now me as a checkout person, if I click refresh, I should see this pop up here. Yeah, as you can see, the user test over the pregnancy test is ready to be checked out. So if I click on this assign button, it shows me the checkout form. So the name of the user, and then the number of flags, exit survey rating. These are the 2 referrals in the church. Ultrasound and retest, is again, as you can see them, they all are listed into the note area. So it says requires ultrasound, as you can see. So that means I have to go schedule an ultrasound for her as a client coordinator in the checkout. Also, these 2 classes, they're all here too. So now I can print out the care plan and the certification for the pregnancy, and then finish this checkout by clicking save. Meanwhile, if I go to the advocate menu again, you remember there was the last form for spiritual health? If I click on the spiritual health, you can see it will take me back here. So as an advocate, you're not with the client in the room anymore. You're sitting in probably the volunteers area or in your room, so you have time to fill out this form, but you cannot take another client until you finish this form as the last form for that previous client, right? You have the case review option. You can click on it and you can see all the IIDIMI, also with the test result, social assessment form, and vulnerability again, all the red flags over here. This shows you the ABM, appointment request list, which was filled by you, and the last form is the exit survey, and you can see her exit survey over here too, right? So this is the case review for the last form for the advocate. Now you have to finish filling out all this information, so let me fill it out. Okay, so just to let you know, all these drop downs listed are searchable, so you can start typing, like for example B, it will bring out all the fields with B, right? BIR, and it just gives me birth control risk, right? So you can search the name in that area. And for this advocate note, this is the last time you have the option to fill out the notes, and after you press save, this client is closed by you and there's no way to go back. So in this section, you can select this template listed for you, or you can simply type here and press save. And once again, this is the last time you can fill out the notes section in the advocate forms. So when I press save, I'll be back to main menu and I can go ahead and be as another advocate for another client if there is any here, or I can be the qualified advocate, or basically I'm free to pick up the next client. So this was the overview from the beginning to the end for a client that wants to do the pregnancy test, with all the client coordinators, qualified advocates and advocates, and the client herself. How is the process and what are the steps and how to end this. So I'm gonna close this video. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, let me know. Ask me or email me. I'll try to respond as fast as possible. Bye.